This video will help you access, search for, and cite information that you need for your sources for your historical research paper. So starting from the main website here at the school, if you get to the Rush City Public Schools website, you're going to go way up on the top left-hand side where it says Select a School and click on that, and then go down to Rush City High School. Once that comes up, then you'll be able to go down, scroll down to this left-hand side bar column here where you see Media Services and click on Media Services. You come to the Media Services, there's two things that you'll be able to look at. The first thing is the Alexandria Card Catalog. These are any of the actual books that we have in the library that you might be able to find depending upon what your source is, depending upon what your topic is. So you just click on there, and when you click on there, excuse me, it brings you into the card catalog, and from the card catalog, you'd be able to maybe type in a topic and just do some searching here on the topic, or you can go ahead and browse through some things. I'm not as familiar with this website, but if you do need to get to the Media Center to try to search for something, I can certainly help you with that. You don't need to have a book. You cannot use Google for any of your sources. So you have, your options are that you can use some type of a reference book, or nonfiction story, that would be a true novel, about your source, maybe a biography, an autobiography, maybe some type of reference book that talks about the different battles of World War II, if that's what you're choosing. And there would be plenty of reference books in the library that we'd be able to find for that. And I can help you with that. If you do find it, you would actually have to go to the Media Center then to check out the book. The next place that you can also look, however, for topics is by looking in the ELM. The ELM is an online database, and this online database actually has journals, magazine articles, encyclopedia entries, lots of places for you to actually search. There's two different places that you can go in ELM, and the first place that you can go is through the student research. And if you click on the student research, you'll want to go to middle school because you're searching for middle school. And then you have different types of options that you can choose. I think the best option for you based on what it is that we are actually researching is to is really just to start with this Galen context, because this includes database resources that are reference works, biographies, magazines, journals, primary documents, and then different types of multimedia. So this really would be the best place for you to go. You could also look at Explora Teens. Explora Teens also includes magazines, journals, encyclopedias, primary documents, reference books. So there are other things that you could look for there also. So if we try the Galen context in middle school, we've been reading about the Battle of Shiloh in our collection 2 stories. So say, for example, that was maybe something that I had decided that I wanted to do my historical essay on. Now, keep in mind for my historical essay, I wouldn't be able to do the entire Battle of Shiloh. I would maybe need to focus on the night before, or focus on maybe some of the events leading up to it. There are a couple of different things that I could choose. So I really am just going to have to maybe do some research first and find out what it is that I would like. So when I'm in this search area, I'm just going to search the Battle of Shiloh, and then I'm going to just see what comes up. Now, you don't really want to just jump right into the sources first. What you want to do is look and see what you have. You can see I've got 5 references. That's probably like an encyclopedia entry. I've got 13 magazines, and I've got 1 news. However, I need to make sure that I can actually read the full text document. So when I'm in this Galen context, I'm going to want to make sure I click on full text documents, and then it's going to rework the sources for me. Now you can see that I still have all of these full text documents here. Maybe I'm just going to start to look at these references and these magazines. There's not that many to look at, so I could actually scroll through them and see. So you'll want to look at what the title is called, and then you'll want to look at where it's from. This is from Discovering US, and it tells you a little bit about what it's about. This is a commentary on the Battle of Pittsburgh Landing. That was from a magazine called The Civil War, maybe. This is a Gale Encyclopedia entry, so I could use that. So these are my 3 references. Let's take a look and see what the magazines are. Here is applying modern military analysis. Well, that's not really what I want to do, as I'm not looking at how modern military analysis is. Here is At the Battle of Shiloh. by Cobblestone. This is another good one, a guide to the Battle of Shiloh. Maybe that would be something that would be helpful. This looks more like it's perhaps this is a peer-reviewed magazine. And then here's a news. I don't really have a lot of magazine. It says I have 13, but I'm only seeing 3 of them here. So say, for example, I would just want to look at this one, at the Battle of Shiloh. So I'm going to click on that source and see what that source looks like. I may have to do a little bit of reading here just to see if it's something that I might want to read and might want to use. So this was written in 2006. The year isn't so important to my particular topic because the Battle of Shiloh isn't a very timely topic. It's not a newer topic. So, I mean, even though 2006 is a little bit old, it would still kind of work. Must be from something called Cobblestone magazine. And then I can just go ahead and kind of just glance through here and do some brief reading to see if I think this is something that would help me or not. Now, if this is something that I think I do want to use, there's a couple of different things I can do. I can actually print this article, download it, or print it if I actually want to have the paper copy to read from. I can email it to myself. And if I email it to myself, then I've actually got a copy of this article that I can use. I can also add it or save it to my drive, which means I could access it in my Google Drive. The point is if I want to come back to it, I can come back to it by putting it in my drive or by emailing it. Or by downloading it, so then it's on my Chromebook, or by printing it. So you have different types of options. So that's one way for you to access and find different sources. Now remember, the other thing that we have to do is we have to cite them using MLA citation. This is really easy to do in a database because in a database, the citation is already done for you. So you're just going to click on that. You have 4 things to choose from here. We want the MLA edition. So if we want that one, you are just going to copy that, select it, and then you're going to start a new document. And if you just go into your Google Docs and just start a new document, this will be my historical research paper. So I'll title it that. I can spell. And then I want to make sure that I put my citation in, and I'm going to paste it. Oh, well, that didn't work out right, did it? Let's try that again. Let's go over here. I think I forgot to copy it. Copy it. Yep. There we go. I'm going to get rid of this. I don't know why that doesn't want to go away. There we go. And I'm going to paste it. Now, what I've got here is not actually what I want. This is Open Sans, and it's the wrong font. So I'm going to have to highlight it again. And I'm going to have to make sure that I'm choosing Times New Roman. And then I'm choosing 12-point font. It also needs to be double spaced. So I need to make sure that I'm changing that to double spacing. And I do want to make sure that I'm using the darkest font color that there is. And that doesn't always paste in that way. Now here's the other problem. When you have a works cited page, your entries have to have a hanging indent. This has to be, so what I mean by that is it basically has to be the opposite or backwards of what it is when you write a paragraph. So I'm probably going to have to fix this. This is the easiest way to fix it. This is the part right here where you see my cursor that I need to have indented, tabbed in. But if I tab in, you can see it tabs in the whole thing strange or does it weird. So what I need to do instead is sort of trick Google. And the way you do that is when you have your cursor right there, you hit backspace, enter, and tab. And then it'll tab that in. And then you sometimes have to kind of go around, like kind of do some tabs and some enters and deletes and stuff to get it to work. So this is what this should look like. Now the problem that I'm having is it's not actually, that should have, the B should be capitalized. So if you think about it, this is my author. This is the title of my source, the title of my container. There's a volume number, an issue number, my date. And then when you look at the location, I've got a page number. And then remember, we have a container within a container because this was accessed through the Gale Context Middle School. So that's my source. Then I can set up for my next source. So Gale in Context really is one of the easiest ways for you to be able to locate information. You can also look at Explorateens. Sometimes Explorateens will have some things in there. And again, you'd maybe want to type in the same thing. Recognize that you might have to be a little bit more specific if you're not finding what you want. So we'll just type in the Battle of Shiloh, and then we'll see what we get. You can see I have 1 through 10 of 396 sources. It already has limited it to me for full text. If I go down here, I could actually limit the dates if I wanted to. And you can actually like shorten up the date. So I could do that and kind of shorten up the date if I wanted to. And then it'll just limit the number of things that I'm looking for. Didn't change it by much, it doesn't look like, but at least it changed it a little bit. Maybe I just want to look at magazines. So now I have 87 of them, but I can see my other options are here too. So I could look at encyclopedias and biographies. I can look at it, whatever I wanted to here, but maybe I'll just limit it to magazines because in this case, magazines gives me 87, and that's a little bit easier for me to look at. So I know I've got the full text here. So then I might just go ahead and look at some of the titles and then maybe just read really quick what this article is about. Applies modern military strategy. This article presents an excerpt from a book about why the Army of Tennessee failed. So maybe I'm going to write about why the Battle of Shiloh failed. Well, that might be interesting. So maybe I would just click on this source to see what this source has to offer. And again, this is set up a little bit different than the Galen context, but all the pieces that you need are still here. You can still add that article to your Google Drive. You can still print the article. You can still go ahead and email the article to yourself. And then you can also do a citation. I got to find which one this is. It must be that one. So I'm just kind of waiting for this article to come up. Just seems like it's taken a little bit for it to come up so that we can read it and kind of take a look at it. But it's going to show you some, kind of gives you something different to look at other than the Galen context. It gives you some options. And again, if you're going to cite it, you can click on this link way over on the right-hand side. That's going to bring the citation up for you. This one has a lot more citation types of things to choose from. But remember, I want the MLA citation, okay? So that's the one I'm going to take. So I'm going to copy that. Now notice how my author's last name starts with D. So when I go to make my works cited page, I need to make sure that I have it cited alphabetically. Now you can see this citation comes in really strange. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get rid of that highlight color because I don't want that. Next thing I'm going to have to do is make sure that it's all in black. Then I'm going to have to change that so that it's 12-point font. And of course, we know we want Times New Roman. Okay. Now, Larry Daniel, for some reason, is capitalized and it should not be. So I need to change that. Sometimes it doesn't come in perfect, but here's my author, title of my source, title of my container, volume number, issue number, date, page number, and then of course, because it is a source within a source, we have a second container. Again, backspace, enter tab, and then tab, and then I've got that fixed. This is how my works cited page should look. So that's if I decided to use the Explorateens. Okay, back to the Elm Library. Remember, the first place that we used was the student research. You can also go into something that's called EBSCO, and that's by clicking on all databases and then clicking on this E, and it'll bring you down to the EBSCOhost megafiles. The EBSCOhost megafile, again, has lots of different databases to look at. So it's another place for you to search to see what we can come up with. This one has 194. It looks like a lot of this is the same thing that I'm finding on that I found on the Explorateens, right? So maybe I wouldn't necessarily want to use that. Defending the Final Line. That looks interesting. Maybe I could look at that one and see what that one's all about. This article discusses the battle, and it includes the U.S. Navy's role. So maybe I'm going to write my paper about the U.S. Navy's role. And again, here's the actual article for me to read. So as you can see, I can add it to my Google Drive so I can always find the article. I can print it. I can email it to myself. If I want to cite it, this is how I click on it to cite it. And again, I have all of these choices. So I'm going to do my MLA. Notice the author's last name is K. So I'm going to copy it. And this actually has to go in between these two. And I have to fix it again, right? Because it doesn't actually come in correctly for some reason. So I have to get rid of the highlight. Make sure that I've got the darkest ink that I can. Make 12-point font, Times New Roman. Check to make sure everything is right. Emily, and then we need to make sure that we've got Philip, okay? And then backspace, enter tab, tab, and backspace, and I've got my third source that I have here. So when you're also filling out your source document, this is what you'll do. If this is the article that I'm going to use, I will, actually you can just do it this way if you want. So say this is the article I'm going to use to take my notes on. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go into my historical source sheet, okay? And I'm going to paste that information in there. And I'm still probably going to want to fix it because it's still not right. Times New Roman, 12-point font, the darkest ink, and then get rid of my highlights so there is none. And then again, you can see I'm going to have to fix it. You can also copy and paste it from your actual works cited page if you want. And then this one doesn't always tab in correctly. See, it gives me another line. That's one of the problems. But you can just do 5 spaces. It doesn't want to do that. It doesn't matter if it's correct on this or not. This is just so that I can actually see where you got your source from. When you do your works cited page, you will want to make sure that you have it correct here so that it looks correct there. So it doesn't necessarily matter if you do it correctly on this one. So you have several different places that you can go from this Elm library. You can either go into the student research in middle school research, or you can go into all databases and go into EBSCO. So you've got several different places to find them. You get to that through the media services tab under the high school for Rush City Public Schools to get to Elm. The card catalog is also there. You can also get to it through the research paper folder that I have. And if you look at the research paper folder here, once the folder opens up, you will see the Elm Library database is right there. So hopefully that helps you with doing your research, finding your sources, and making sure that you're getting the MLA page correct too.